In this, the inaugural episode, join me as we discuss the Shed Distillery with Emma Donaghy, define the whisky term querco-triterpenoside, hear from Adam for our unusual history of Limerick, and drink a dram of whisky with James.
Parlour pours where the stories flow. Whiskey warms as the embers glow. From cask to glass, from past to now, we sip, we laugh, we raise a vow. Parlour pours where the
Welcome to Peggy's Whisky Parlour here in Mother Mac's Public House in Limerick City for the Parlour Pour Whisky and Chat. I'm joined by the absolutely fantastic Emma Donaghy, who is the Marketing Activations Executive, well, what a role, with the Shed Distillery of PJ Rigney and Drumshanbo. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mike, and thank you very much for having me down in Limerick tonight.
Absolutely fantastic to have you here. So we're here in the parlour. It smells of fantastic whiskey, and we're watching some gin being poured, which is it's a Californian orange gunpowder gin. It's absolutely beautiful. We're looking at the bottle here. It's going to be gorgeous. We're going to enjoy it, and we're going to bring some people in for some fantastic whiskey and a lovely tasting later on. But that's part of the whiskey part of it. We're going to do the chats first.
Absolutely.
So I suppose maybe just tell me a little bit about yourself. I suppose a little bit about how you got into the role you got into, and what the role is.
Absolutely, yeah. So I started out my journey of employment at the age of about 15 years old. So I've been working in the hospitality trade since about that time. Started off serving weddings and hotels, working my way up and asking for a couple of bar shifts, collecting glasses then whenever I was at the legal age. Then I went on and continued working in cocktail bars in Sligo town, and then became a food and beverage manager then in a hotel then afterwards. And then it was whenever I was that manager there, I seen a job came up for the Shed Distillery, and it was my chance then to move home, and I said, look, this is an incredible opportunity. You never see the Shed posting jobs, so I really want to be a part of that family. Like, Drumshanbo Gunpowder Irish Gin is worldwide and it's massive, so it's an incredible opportunity to go and work for them, and especially just an amazing family run business. So I decided, why not apply? So I applied in a cafe in Mullingar, and my boyfriend looked over it and he said, go for it, girl, dead right. So that's what I did, and yeah, then after that it's just been a whirlwind. Met with the curious mind himself, Patrick Rigney, and he said, you have it, you can talk to people and you're passionate and you're hired. So it's been an incredible journey so far. I've been with them just about a year now, and started going into the on-trade job as well, which has been fantastic, and also helping out in the visitor experience as well in Drumshanbo, and yeah, doing loads of other fun bits, travelling around the world.
So what does a market activations executive do? Because it's a very fancy title.
Very fancy title for not a very fancy girl.
You're downselling yourself now.
Yeah, it's, you know, this life is far from what I'm raised from. You know, I'm a farmer's daughter, and I'm really not used to this whole exquisite life, but it's been incredible. You know, it's working on events, it's working worldwide with the company as well, which is absolutely fantastic. You know, it's the opportunity to travel all around the world, go to America, go to Budapest, go to France, go to Germany, Sweden as well, and just promoting the brand worldwide and just trying to get the name out there, which is so important.
So just this week, because I thought it was really interesting, we were having a chat just beforehand, and we were talking about kind of what was going on this week, and you just off the tongue, you kind of rolled and you said, oh, I'm in Cork and I'm in Limerick and I'm in...
Yeah.
What are you at this week?
So I was doing whiskey tastings down in Killarney on Tuesday, working on the on-trade, just going into pubs and restaurants, just seeing what the crack is and how life is going with them, and seeing if they want to buy a couple of bottles of gin or whiskey. Also, the release of our new Tawny Port cask as well has just launched this week. So just trying to get the word out there, seeing if there's any interest and anyone wants to have a little dram of whiskey as well.
Yeah, and later on the week, where are you off to?
Heading off to California on Sunday.
Are you going picking oranges for the gin?
Gonna go pick some oranges, gonna go and suss out the scene and try and sell a couple of bottles and have a good time in the Irish pubs.
Excellent. So you were in Sligo for a period of time, so?
Yes, so from born and raised in Sligo, and it's, Drumshanbo's only about a 35-minute drive, all the back roads, of course, but it's absolutely incredible. Get to live at home as well, which is great. Support mum and dad, and lambing season has started, which is fantastic.
Very important,
so
very important.
Supporting them is always the best part.
And what's your favourite pub in Sligo?
Oh, it has to be Thomas Connolly's.
Oh, go on.
Yeah.
Good friends of ours here, yeah.
Are they?
Yeah, good friends.
Stuff. Shout out to Paul.
Yeah. In terms of the whiskey making process, we see it quite readily. We all read about it. We can check it up online. What's the one thing about that process that most people kind of misunderstand or maybe overlook as not being important?
Yes, absolutely. I do think that number one would be patience. Patience is so incredibly important when it comes to whiskey. We have an incredible wizard of a master distiller, and his name is Brian Taft, and he is just second to none. Brian is absolutely amazing at what he does, and unless anything isn't absolutely perfect, it is not being put in a bottle. Yeah. So he has been incredible. He was actually our very first employee of the Shed Distillery. He's from LA, and he was trained in fine wine distilling.
Wow.
And from that then he fell in love with a lovely lady from Sligo, and then after that he came over to Ireland, and he was the very first employee.
There's a definitive Sligo team going on here, I think, is there?
I know, up Sligo.
How many people working in the shed are from Sligo?
Only myself at the moment, but hopefully there'll be more to come.
There'll be more. So I suppose you've mentioned, okay, he trained in fine wine distilling.
Yes.
I mean, if there was, I suppose, and if you could experiment, and if there was an unconventional ingredient or process, maybe, what would it be, and why would you choose it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're always experimenting at the Shed Distillery, if that's with our Drumshanbo Gunpowder Irish Gin or with our Drumshanbo whiskey portfolio as well. We're always bringing out those limited expression casks, such as our Marsala cask and our new Tawny Port cask, and I'm not allowed to say anything else, but we're always experimenting. There's always stuff going on in the background, and that is probably down to the brain of the curious mind, which is PJ Rigney, and he's just a creator, an innovator. He's always looking for the next best thing, and he travels all around the world and collects all these beautiful things. Like even last week, he came in and was holding an ostrich egg when he was walking through the visitor experience. That's just the kind of man he is. And we were like, what's this for? Is this for whiskey sours or what's going on? But no, he's just absolutely fantastic. Even coming down to the gunpowder tea that goes into the Drumshanbo Gunpowder Irish Gin. Incredibly innovative, and it really adds such a beautiful, refreshing balance to the gin. But also, I suppose, with the Drumshanbo whiskey, you're looking at the Irish Barra oats are added, so it's porridge oats essentially.
Yeah.
Who would ever think to put porridge oats into whiskey? And it would work so beautifully, and it's lovely creamy texture whenever it's on that finish.
You would be surprised, right? We talk to a number of distillers around the country every now and then, and we meet up with some wonderful people, and oats was a very traditional thing to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it really was, and I think you're going to find that probably in the coming years it's going to make a big comeback. Really is, hopefully. So maybe you're just ahead of the game, maybe just a touch.
You never know.
This one. Yeah.
I mean, we've got a great team, so all dues go to them.
And I was going to ask who's the person with the biggest influence, but listening to you here right now, I mean, it seems to be quite obvious, it is PJ Rigney. He seems to have the greatest influence on the distillery.
Is. Yeah, PJ is just... He's like a dad to us all. He treats us with the utmost respect. Nobody walks past without a hello, a goodbye. He's in the gift shop fixing neck tags, but also, I suppose, you have to pay so much respect to Brian Taft, our master distiller. He has a team of 7 distillers in the distillery, and that's it. And these guys are just regular guys. Like, one of them is in a band, one of them was a plumber before he started. They don't have any experience in the past of distilling. He trained up all these local guys. Every person is local, and gave them employment, which is absolutely incredible that he was able to do that. So all respect goes to him in that sense. He's a massive influence on all of us. And
And I suppose,
incredible.
can I ask them, because you mentioned employment and you mentioned locality. How many people are employed by the distillery and the gift shop and we said the whole organisation at this stage?
So at this stage we have 100 employees.
Wow.
And Drumshanbo is a very, very small town. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No, never
There's
been
not
there.
much there. There's a centre and a gala, and the Shed Distillery, of course. So throughout our visitor experience, the Jackalope Cafe, distillers, our bottlers, as every bottle is bottled by hand and hand labelled and hand corked, it's 100 people, which is quite a small operation. Tour guides and baristas and everything like that, bar staff. So yeah, it's incredible to employ 100 people.
I don't think it's that small. We took, myself and James took a tour of a distillery very, very recently, and it employed 12.
Yeah.
So I think 100 is quite a significant portion.
It is,
in a small place that is Drumshanbo. As you said, it's a little dot on the map. Not making it any smaller than it is, but it's definitely you've definitely put it on the map with the distillery.
Yeah.
I suppose that then probably leads to the next question. I mean, in terms of how do you balance like tradition with innovation, I suppose, in an industry that is really kind of deep-rooted in history. I know you've mentioned the ostrich egg kind of coming through the place, and you've mentioned a little bit of porridge going back through, but how do you stay respectful to your roots?
Yeah, so we really do balance, even, for example, going back to our Drumshanbo Gunpowder Irish Gin, we balance our Irish gin with also our Chinese influence as well with that gunpowder tea. But we stay traditional in our whiskey terms, as we do use only our single pot stills. It's all hand cut-offs as well, which is absolutely fantastic. We go back to those traditional methods of using your single pot still also. But then, of course, we do experiment as well, but we find it's really important to balance that tradition of that single pot still when also going in with our limited cask release as well. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, and look, I suppose not to put a downer on it, right? Because it's a wonderful story. A fabulous distillery, fabulous visitor centre. All the other work that goes on around it and the employment that goes on with it. 100 people employed with it. But there are challenges, I suppose, in our industry at the moment, and in the whiskey production industry.
Absolutely.
In recent weeks, we just heard about the unfortunate news of Waterford Distillery, and we know throughout the country others are struggling a little bit as well. I suppose, what is the biggest challenge to Irish whiskey, I suppose, today? And I suppose how do you see us overcoming that challenge, I suppose, in the next coming years or next decade?
Yeah, so I suppose, as you said, production constraints is absolutely massive. There's been a huge resurgence over the last, I'd say, 2 decades for whiskey, and we're incredibly fortunate that PJ Rigney has invested in 3 more copper pot stills, which is absolutely fantastic. So it's going to increase our capacity by 100%. So it just shows how much, it's doing really well for us, and we're so proud of it, which is absolutely fantastic. You do see a lot of kind of cocktails being used as well, and those measures might be 60 millilitres, and younger people, Gen Zers, tend to be drinking a little bit more whiskey than they did in the past also. So your whiskey sours, your old fashions and stuff like that. So it's incredible that even the younger people can now enjoy whiskey, compared to in the past where it may have been frowned upon. But now it's incredible that we've such an inclusive and diverse environment that we're able to do that.
So what role, I suppose, you think that Irish whiskey plays in Irish culture today, and how is that changing?
So I think that in the past it was very much an old man's drink, and it really was that, you'd see your men sitting at the bar just enjoying their little drop of whiskey. And now it's really revolutionised, and you see younger people starting to enjoy whiskey, get into the craft of it. Like, we have ladies coming in on tours in our visitor experience, and they're more interested in the whiskey tasting compared to the gin tasting now, which may have been a little bit different in times before, but now it's just completely revolutionised. It's completely gender neutral, and it's amazing to see younger people as well going in and ordering a ski ginger, whatever they like, and it's just incredible to see the change in society, and seeing more people appreciate the craft and the art of whiskey as well is absolutely super.
No, it's fantastic, because we were just talking before this, and I know you did kind of mention like this. Traditionally you would have seen, I suppose, the older gentleman with the pint and the shot, and it was kind of almost frowned upon for whiskey to be drank on its own.
Yeah.
Whereas now whiskey has become its own drink. It's become its own thing, and
Absolutely.
it's just way cool to have go out for a whiskey. You don't. It's not. I suppose it's not an addition to something else, or it's not a substitution, or it's not in conjunction with it. It is its own story, and it is its own, its own thing.
Yeah.
I suppose. If I was to ask the whiskies that you've brought here this evening with us, right?
Yes.
Which one of those would you see as having the best story, and maybe what story would that tell? Okay. And there's some lovely stories, right, from the conversations we're having, but just for one of the whiskies, and it can be something funny, it can be something obscure.
Yeah, of course. So I think obviously our single pot still whiskey is obviously just an incredible story. It's what we started out with, and our first cask was set down on the winter solstice of 2014. So we just celebrated our decade of distilling event last year, just in December gone by, and it's just absolutely fantastic to see the change in the last 10 years and how much it's revolutionised as well. Now we've brought out nearly 3 new expressions, and we did have our Pinot Noir cask as well, but unfortunately that was sold out. It was too good to stay on the shelves, which is a good complaint.
Yeah.
But no, I think the single pot still is our flagship. It's our DNA. It's what PJ Rigney and Brian Taft always wanted, was to bring out their own whiskey, and that's certainly what they did, and they've left their stamp on the Irish whiskey community. It's incredible.
Agreed. I suppose, and finally, because we've got to go and do a tasting now after this, right? We're going to have a little bit of fun, right? If you could share a dram of whiskey with anyone, historical characters, fictional characters, whatever person or character you'd like, who would it be and why?
That's a very tough question. I'm stuck between 2. Well, obviously the inevitable would be my granddad, because he always enjoyed this little dram of whiskey at night time and having a little hot whiskey before bed, which is always great. But also I think an incredible person on the Irish scene at the moment is a designer and an illustrator called Heafy. His name is Stephen Heffernan, and he's worked so well. His art is so simplistic. He's worked for Tato, he's worked for Subway, Coca-Cola, the Dead Rabbit. He designed their uniforms, Moe's Lager. He's done so much incredible work with Irish brands, and I think it's incredible that he's really put Ireland on the map in terms of illustration. I think he could do some very cool things.
Emma, huge thanks for coming in here into the Peggy's Parlour this evening. It has been absolutely fantastic. You know what? If your energy and enthusiasm comes across even in a fraction in the whiskey, it's bound for success. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Unusual History of Limerick.
Written in the 1940s, On Raglan Road is a famous Irish song. Now, written in the 2000s was a rap song called Stan. Now, why am I connecting these two things? And what's it got to do with Limerick? Let's find out. So when Patrick Kavanagh wrote the poem On Raglan Road in 1946, it was about a girl called Hilda Moriarty. Now, he was mad about her. She wasn't so much into him. She ended up marrying another guy called Donnacha O'Malley, who was originally from the Roundhouse O'Malley's, from upstairs in High Street. Now, their great niece, the wonderfully named Florian Bonneville de Cloud Armstrong O'Malley, ended up becoming Dido, the English singer, born in 1971. Now, she went on to collaborate with Eminem to make Stan. So, that's how they're connected. Now, there's no word on if Eminem took his name from Mother Max. Cheers, guys.
Complicated whiskey words.
Querco triterpenocides. These mouthfuls are a group of chemical compounds derived from oak that play a role in the maturation process of whiskey. The compounds, along with tannins and lactones, contribute to the unique flavours extracted from oak casks. They influence everything from the mouthfeel to the astringency and the depth of the whiskey's finish. In simpler terms, they are part of the magic that transforms a raw spirit into a beautifully aged whiskey, adding layers of complexity beyond just the woodiness, bringing in elements like spice, vanilla, and even subtle bitterness that enhances the overall drinking experience.
As we sit here in Peggy's Whiskey Parlour, why not come along and join me for a dram from Drumshanbo? We have the single pot still. It's triple distilled, it's aged in 2 casks, a Tennessee bourbon and a Oloroso sherry cask. So on the nose, first off you're getting the bang of vanilla from the bourbon cask. There's a toasted oat and there's actually just an orange zest. On the palate, there's actually a fruit cake coming through. For me, I'm getting a milk chocolate and it's like a buttered scotch. The finish then itself is a spice, but it's there like a chili spice. I hope you enjoy it, guys.
I would like to thank Emma, Adam and James for contributing to this episode. That's it for this pour, but this conversation doesn't stop here. Keep exploring, keep sipping, and remember, every great whiskey has a great story. Don't miss our next episode, where we will be pouring another round of stories and spirits. Sláinte.
Parlour pours where the stories flow. Whiskey warms as the embers glow. From cask to glass, from past to now, we sip, we laugh, we raise a vow. Parlour pours where the whiskey speaks, a tale in every drop we seek. From myth to drams, from songs to lore, pull up a chair, it's Parlour Pour.